St. Paul, The Fan.
Where in the heck have you been? Holy cow. I mean, whether pull that microphone up a little bit, you'll there you go. I mean, whether we're texting or reading tweets or whatever, we stay in touch, Blake Baratz, but it's great to see you.
It's great to see you.
651 Carpets Plus Studios, especially Combine Week, man. And it was great chatting with you a little bit last week about not only the Combine Week, but coming into the studio to chat a little football and being a Twin Cities native and founder and president of Team IFA, Institute for Athletes. How's business, man? And good morning.
Good morning. Great to see you. Business is good. It's just busy. It's hectic now with all this name, image, and likeness stuff. The college landscape has definitely changed our business. I don't know if this is the job I really wanted, but somehow we walked into it.
Why do you smile?
I love my job. I just didn't, it's not like we had a plan to start representing 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds and 19-year-olds, and it's a longer tail.
Mm-hmm.
And then the legislation and the rules and the NCAA and state compliance, everything keeps changing by the week. So it's good, but what we're doing now may exist in 2 years and may not exist in 2 years. So, from handling, 30 NFL players and all of their off the field endeavors to now, trying to simultaneously do that for 20 or 25 new collegiate prospects with different time frames and different goals and different set of standards and rules. And it's a lot. It's effective and it's working, but it's a lot.
So with Institute for Athletes and specifically, let's begin with the transfer portal and NIL. I mean, it all just came and happened and rolled in so quickly.
Yep.
That people who do what you do are going to scurry in a very competitive industry to maximize not only the opportunity for the business, but the opportunities for the individuals with whom you work.
Yeah.
The landscape of these games, college football and basketball specifically, I mean, you can't watch a game without hearing so-and-so averaged 3.5 points a game for Michigan State, but now he's been here for half a season with an opportunity. He's up to 16 a game. Or it's the free agency of college sports, specifically football and basketball. I mean, how much has it changed? Like over the course of time, if you were to cast your gaze into all right, football, I know Saban's gone, but say like Alabama, Clemson, this team and that team, they're always going to be good. Michigan, whomever. Basketball, Arizona, Kansas, so UConn. So do you think that will change as the games progress because of the transfer portal, in essence, evening out the landscape?
I think it'll change a little bit. But a lot of that is going to be dependent on the school's collectives and how much money they have to spend, because naturally in any industry, people chase the money.
Right.
So, Missouri, for instance, they have very, liberal NIL laws where you actually can induce a player to go play at Missouri based on dollars. Well, it's not coincidence they're getting 5-star players. It's not coincidence they're top 10 in the country.
Wow.
So based on the school's collectives and how much money they're actually able to raise and continue to raise, that will impact the playing field a little bit. I don't think, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, Georgias, they're not going anywhere.
Right.
And they do have loyal fan bases. They can go get the money and the best coaches. And they have strong collectives. So I don't think that'll change, but I do think there's opportunities for other schools to get in the mix. I do.
Absolutely amazing. Because so you say the schools will have the guidance, the programs, the financial wherewithal, things like that. But from an agent standpoint or Institute for Athletes, how do you guys slide in or how does that group slide in without breaking rules?
Yeah, I mean, the first year we completely stayed on the sidelines and we just said, let's see how this thing unfolds. Because, from our standpoint, we're like, okay, we can go in and we can help guys build their brand and help them with their philanthropic endeavors and be a sounding board for advice. But the reality is we can't go make money for right guard at the University of Minnesota. Those dollars just aren't out there. So what's worth our time and energy? And do we still believe they fit the parameters of what we're looking for in an IFA client?
Yeah.
And then year two, we started to get more kind of inbound traffic or referrals. Hey, we know you work with these Vikings. We know you work with this player for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm at Ohio State. Can you help us? So we started to delve into a little more. And then we felt like, okay, I don't think it's reasonable for us to not work with players in college. And then all of a sudden they're ready to go pro their junior year or senior year of college. And we're going to be the agency that pops up to represent them. So our philosophy and the rules kind of curtailed a little bit from year 1 to year 2. So we got in and we kept kind of our same identity profile of like, we want to work with good dudes, mature guys that get it, guys that don't just have their hand out looking for a quick buck, because it's going to take a while to build a plan. So we did that. And then what started happening was, we'd start to sign some players. Then it started with, okay, well, now my head coach is coming to me and saying, hey, we got to talk about your collective deal. How's 50 grand sound? How's 100 grand sound? How's 150 grand sound?
What's the collective deal?
The collective is really just, it's the business that these schools boosters have really put together to shell out the cash to the players. And they don't call it pay for play, but at the end of the day, it's pay for play. The collective is a bunch of boosters pooling a bunch of money together. Some schools have $2 million in the kitty, and some schools have $20 million in the kitty.
Like USC.
Yes. And then they're allocating it to the players based on typically, what the coaching staff thinks.
Okay. Well, so from a player's like Caleb Williams, the quarterback for USC. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen numbers all over the place, man. At one point, it was like 3.1 million in name, image, and likeness. Then it was like above 4 or something like that. Whatever it is, it's several million. What is outside of playing and performing with the assumption many eyeballs are watching, ears are listening, and people are doing features and stuff like that? What is their obligation? Do they have an obligation to, do they have to do appearances, commercials, things like that? Yeah,
it totally depends on the school's collective and what's in the contract. Sometimes it's social posts. Sometimes it's an appearance at a charitable event per month. Sometimes it's X number of hours of initiatives or deliverables. But, I think that's part of the confusing part of the NIL and the miseducation is these players are getting paid to go play their sport at these schools, and they're confusing the term of name, image, and likeness with you're getting paid to go play football at Ohio State or Alabama or USC. And name, image, and likeness, in my mind, was intended for players and student athletes, male, female, whoever, to go capitalize on their name, image, and likeness, whether it's with a true partnership, an autograph signing, a meet and greet, associating your name with a business. But these collectives were formed as a way to kind of skirt the rule. So, does Caleb Williams have some responsibilities for the $5 million or $6 million or $4 million or whatever he got? He probably did, but whatever he was doing was never going to equate to the $3 million or $6 million or $8 million or whatever amount he got paid anyway.
Right.
So, some schools call them in on it to actually do the appearances, and some schools don't care.
Right.
It's just, hey, we have to have this on paper. If these things don't work out for your schedule, no problem.
And I ain't saying it's going to happen this year, but I mean, it could, where somebody's like, they know they're going to go first, second, or third. So let's say with Caleb Williams, first, Chicago Bears. Let's just say it works that way. Does this open the metaphorical Pandora's box to be like, well, I don't want to play for them. So, with this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million I'm getting, that's going to offset things for X amount of years. So in essence, they can either sit out or come back and play another year in college.
I don't think it will for the Caleb Williams of the world, because you're never going to offset $45 million fully guaranteed and starting your NFL career.
Right.
You're not going to offset that in college, no matter what. Right. But it might make sense, for the third rounder. That's like, okay, I was making no money before name, image, and likeness. So for me to walk into $2 million as a third round pick is life-changing money, and I'm going. Now it's a little different. Now it's like, okay, well, if I can go back to Ohio State as a third round pick and make $1 million or make 800 grand and maybe boost my stock to be a first or second rounder, now those are real decisions. But for the Caleb Williams of the world or the Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, a school, in my opinion, a school's never going to get to the point of paying a guy $30 million for one season.
So the last thing here with the name, image, likeness, the super special NIL. With like, say, Golden Gophers football, I mean, how impacted is, from what you see on the landscape of what you do, that program compared to other Big Ten schools that have more money in foundation fashion behind them to, in essence, buy or in essence, lure the best players?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard. Is it harder than it's been? Maybe. Like, PJ does a really good job. He's a really good recruiter. He assesses talent. He gets the right guys. He gets guys that want to be Gophers. And those are particular. It's not that much different than IFA. Like, we're getting the right dudes. We're not getting guys that have their hand out always looking for something better. Now, is it hard to compete if you can give a kid 30 grand versus 500 grand?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And the real hard part is once you get the guys and you see something you like, you start to develop them. Now you got to resell them every year because of the transfer portal. That is the part that I probably, pushed Nick Saban out of the business, because it's not just about getting players and developing them.
Wow.
Now you got to play general manager also.
Right.
You have to figure out how to. Then you're raising money all the time.
Wow.
Then you're playing GM also
during the season too, because you get a unhappy guy who thought he was going to get whatever, but he gets the NIL that was promised.
Correct.
But not playing. So then all of a sudden, you in essence are recruiting your own players within the covenant during the season, which is insane. It's uncomfortable.
It's insane. I mean, you have conference championships like December 5th and 7th, and the portal opens December 7th, and people are preparing for bowl games.
It's amazing.
It's such a mess. It's like, it really bothers me. I don't understand how they, adults in the room can't figure out how to share billions and billions of dollars adequately. Like, the NCAA let it get so egregious for so long. And now the pendulum has swung so far the other direction that you can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle. But this system makes no sense either. Players deserve to get paid, but we have to figure out how to allocate the dollars properly and have some transparency.
I agree.
There's no salary cap.
Yeah.
These kids, what are they going to tell their head coach? If Kirby Smart says, how's 50 grand sound? What are you going to tell the guy that you think is the leader of your team? You worship the ground he walks on. He's your avenue to get to the National Football League. What are you going to say? Sorry, coach? Like, the whole thing is unfair. It's unfair for the coaches and the players.
Stupid question. Who regulates it? Like, all right, so whatever company is giving Blake Baratz, left guard, whatever school, $40,000. Well, how and sorry to say this, salacious as it may sound, but how do you know it's 40 and not 15 on the side in an envelope?
I guess you wouldn't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't. Like, so
because the envelope, I mean, that potentially could get people over the hump.
That might be going on. I have no doubt that was going on at schools. I mean, Johnny Manziel came out and said it over the weekend. Like, schools have been paying players for a long time.
Right.
They were just paying them in different ways. Now it's an above board way to pay players, and it's an arms race. It's just an arms race.
And how? Like, if you don't know this, that's fine. But like Caitlin Clark, the stud scorer for the Hawkeyes, like what's her NIL? Like how? I mean, she's on TV more than Steph Curry.
I would imagine she's making a few $1,000,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
I would be surprised if she wasn't.
Oh, wow. Good for her.
Yeah. And she probably has big national brands after.
Right.
Yeah. I would be shocked if she wasn't. Paige Beckers, too. I know she's been hurt and whatnot, but like, she was on that trajectory as an extremely marketable student athlete.
Blake Barrett's Twin Cities native. Edina or Minneapolis?
I grew up in Hopkins.
Okay, or Hopkins, right.
Same difference.
Yep, founder and president of Team IFA. It's Institute for Athletes, and Blake will get to the Combine Wednesday. Yours surely later today to do a couple of radio shows. Adam Thielen, one of your prized your prized players, and has been over the course of time just a wonderful guy. With the way things went in Carolina. So, like, is this the time of the year that, like, agent talks to player, shares, even though you're probably certainly on top of it during the year. But I mean, it's like, do you consider getting Thielen out of Carolina or continuing with Bryce and the new staff? Is that how a conversation would go?
Yeah, I mean, the conversations with all of our clients are ongoing, and guys that are unhappy in situations, we're talking about solutions. Guys that are happy in situations, we're talking about extensions, and a lot of those conversations happen at the Combine, as you know. And Adam, we had conversations in real time because the year did not unfold like anyone expected it. And I felt bad. I felt really bad for Adam at this stage of his career because he's still in great shape and he's a great teammate and he's playing good football. And
I felt bad for Bryce a little bit with that offensive line.
And I think we all, going into this, everyone, he really liked the coaching staff there. He really liked the direction. He liked Bryce. They already had a good defense. They had a good offensive line. I think the thought was, okay, they're gonna start to push things forward. And year two of Adam being there, maybe they can go compete for a division championship or playoff run in that division. We all thought that was possible, and then everything just blew up internally.
Right.
And so now he's kind of going through another rebuild, and the conversations with Adam have really been, hey, you got to go speak to Dave Canales, the new head coach. You got to go speak to Dan Morgan. Dan was already there, but he's a great guy.
Right.
And you have to like the direction they're going, which he really does. And Canales is a great dude. Rashad White's one of our clients. He was in Tampa with Dave last year.
Yeah.
Dave's a great dude, and Dan Morgan's a great guy, and he loves Charlotte too. So he doesn't want to pick up and move his family again if he doesn't have to.
And that could be a difficult part of a veteran's mindset.
100%
is that Adam, with all due respect, is right at the end. I mean, he's near the end of a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful career. And if you got transition and change and stuff, even if you have a high first round quarterback who I do believe can play if situations around him change, maybe, it's looking at that like, do I want to wait for this or do I want to call Blake and, hey, combine's coming up or whatever. Let's see if there's any interest anywhere else with the team that potentially is perceived to be better. Now, when you go to the combine this week, outside of that type of stuff, like what do you look to accomplish? Just catch up with your rookies or what?
Yeah, I mean, I would call it kind of the legal tampering period or the illegal tampering period or whatever you want to call it. It's just a lot of conversation.
It's an oxymoron.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense either, but there's a lot of things with the NFL that don't make sense.
Haven't you noticed how many teams are not sending coaches or key coordinators or, I want to say full staffs, but it's not full staff. But like a lot of the key fixtures are not going to the combine period. Why do you think that is?
I think it's for the coaches. They can watch all the film. They've already, for the most part, identified what they like on film. They're going to be able to zoom in for all the interviews anyway. They're going to get the medical reports from their team doctors.
Yeah.
For most coaches, I think there is a better use of time than being there for the, especially if you've been at some of the All-Star games. You've really tapped into the film.
Yep.
For the front offices, the scouts, the GMs, you're getting a handle on free agency. You're getting a handle on, free agency starts March 14th or 15th. So every team's got to be under the cap. You're going to see a lot of movement. That's where trades get orchestrated at the new calendar year.
Yeah.
So it's significantly more important, in my opinion, for the front offices, the GMs, the Rob Brzezinskis of the world to be at the combine because that's where you gather all the information.
Yeah.
You know what's real and what's not real.
And I'm guessing with this and haven't been, told it by anybody, but I mean, I've been to a decade and a half of combines. I'm just getting the feeling that either it's general managers, team presidents, chief operating officers or team owners who are they're hearing so many things about after hours in Indianapolis that some are kind of like off what you said. Well, we can get the film here. We can do this. We went to the Senior Bowl, went to the East-West, the whole thing. It's why pay for this quasi spring break week that a lot treat it like? Do you think any of that factors into it? Because that week is wild, man.
Maybe I don't think as much. I don't think that's negatively impacted as much as maybe you're alluding to. I think people actually do see it as somewhat of a waste of time.
Right.
If you're a head coach, do you really need to be there? You need to be in the weight room to watch kickers bench press at 6 a.m. Are you getting anything out of that? I don't think so. The nice part for people like myself going is like all the people that I talk to throughout the year, I can sit and catch up with in person, which is nice.
That's awesome.
And we get real work done because we got 8 or 10 free agents, and teams want to re-sign some of our own guys. So we're trying to gauge the market in order to be able to advise our clients the best on whether to stay or what to go based on what their individual goals are.
Who's your, without offending the other 7 or 8, who's your top free agent? And is he unrestricted?
They'll all be unrestricted. Frankie Louvu will have a really good market.
Right.
Linebacker in Carolina, Adam's teammate. Blake Cashman's going to have a really good market.
Wonderful year for the Texans.
Yep.
Eden Prairie High School, go crazy.
Yep. Ray McLeod is a returner for the Niners.
Yeah.
He'll have a good market. I would say those.
Ray McLeod was Purdy was throwing to him in the Super Bowl.
He was. He had
pretty sweet.
He had a nice catch.
Yeah,
he did. I think those will be our top 3. Will Golston is like an 11-year vet on Tampa. He's free. But I think the linebackers, Louvu and Cashman, will be probably the top 2.
Are you permitting your rookies to take the cognitive test, be part of that at the combine?
I did, but I have second thoughts about it. I wasn't adamant that they do it, and I wasn't adamant that they don't do it, so I left it up to them.
Is this the Wonderlic bit?
No, this is more of this S2 bid is more of a cognitive test, and I think where this all stemmed from is the scores of C.J. Stroud leaked out a year ago, and Athletes First, which is a big conglomerate agency, they just said after that, none of their guys are taking.
But that goes back to like '99 with Dante. I mean, it's like Dante reportedly got a 9 or some absurdly stupid score and had a wonderful career.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened with that. I don't know who leaked it. Every team has access to that information. I don't know. Some people I talk to that actually work in the cognitive test for a couple of these companies, they thought maybe the test itself leaked it. I was of the mindset that probably another team leaked it. Someone that probably liked C.J. Stroud that wanted it to get out.
Yeah, right.
There's just too many people that have access to that information. So, but I also know, if you have, half the first round, you're representing half the first round, you have a little more leverage to say don't do something or don't take it. But I wouldn't tell a guy that if I think a guy's upside is the second round, I'm not going to tell him. They want to check as many boxes as possible. It's not the score itself is not changing the world. Not doing something at these opportunities opens more red flags.
Is this from what you know now, and what you hear with those with whom you chat, and it's voluminous, a lot of people. Is this a super deep quarterbacks draft? I mean, you got the 3 up top, everybody talk about, and then, you could have 6, whatever, 7 in the first round. So, like, the totality of it, because whomever said that into the 2020 wide receivers draft nailed it. I heard nothing but how deep the tight ends draft was last year, and they were right. I mean, it was rich and just thick throughout, like, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. It's like that this year with the QBs.
I think it is, yeah. I think it's everything that every team has told me. It's really good offensive tackle draft, and it's a really good quarterback draft. Yeah.
What about defensively? Hear anything?
No, but I haven't studied it as much.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm always of the mindset though. There's really good players everywhere. Like you're going to have 255 or 256 guys drafted. There's a lot of really good football players.
Yeah.
And I always just come back to it's the league of opportunity, not necessarily how great of an athlete you are.
Yeah.
The difference between Adam Thielen and the 4th wide receiver taking is splitting hairs, and it's going to be that way. And every couple of years, there's some superstar freak that is just better than everybody else. But more times than not, no one thought Nakua Pakua could play. Like he ran 4.8 or something, and Cooper Kupp wasn't fast enough. And there's so many things that have to go right in the game of football that coaching matters so much. Your scheme matters. Your innovation matters. Your motivation matters. Guys operate in different situations. I just think if you're a good organization, you're going to find the really good players that fit what you do really well and motivate them to keep working hard and keep progressing, because the difference in ability is really minimal at that level. These are the best of the best of the best.
Right. That was fantastic. I'll see you in Indy, and let's do it again soon, okay?
Can't wait. Safe travels.
Appreciate you,
see
brother.
You in Indy.
Yes, sir. Blake Baratz, president and founder of Institute for Athletes at Team IFA. Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota team.
Ways you can listen to the Fan.
Wasn't ready for that pass. They get to Jaden in the corner, catches 2-3, bingo. And the Wolves might have their separation here and lead by 9 with 4:48 left.
T-Wolves handled the Brooklyn Nets over the weekend after losing to the Milwaukee Bucks. And to chat about that and much more is our weekly guest and friend, Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, courtesy of Prize Picks, Daily Fantasy Made Easy, and Second Harvest Heartland, and specifically 2harvest.org. Coach Finch, good morning. Are you enjoying the comforts of the week and a half homestand? 1-1 so far, but at least you're home.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like I'm going to be home for some good weather, too. I like that even more.
Now, OKC tied you guys for the top spot in the West with that victory over Houston yesterday. How do you? I know you're not breaking down OKC film probably unless you have them on the horizon. But how do you think Gordon Hayward is going to fit in down there?
I mean, he's got a ton of experience. Allows them to put another shooter out on the floor. I think sometimes during their rotations they put out some guys that you don't have to help and don't have to guard as much. You can help off pretty heavy, so it allows them to kind of play him also at the 4 position, which is increases their matchup opportunities against some of the teams in the West that like to play small ball too. So yeah, it's going to be a big addition for them.
And from a veteran leadership standpoint, I don't know much about Gordon, so I don't know if he's like, a huddle presence guy or get in here. I got one thing to say and everybody follows him. But that's a very young team with Gilgeous-Alexander and Giddey and Holmgren and Williams and Dort and so on. So maybe having a veteran presence like that they feel is more so can guide them behind the scenes as much as on the court, right?
I'm sure. I'm watching Gordon play. It seems to have such a steadiness about him. I think that alone in big moments is going to be invaluable. I don't know him personally, so I can't speak to his individual leadership attributes, but just, having that collective experience that they can lean on, that he's gathered through his career. And I think it's going to rejuvenate him as well. I mean, he's been in Charlotte the last few years. They've not done a ton of winning. They've not played a ton of meaningful basketball. And I'm sure, over time that wears on you. And being around that young team with all that energy and potential and excitement for what they're about to embark on, I think it's going to bring the best out of him.
Hey, Coach, with that Saturday win against the Nets, I didn't go to that one. I went to the Milwaukee game, but I was watching it on TV, and it seemed like in the Brooklyn win, Dennis Schroeder really started to bug Monte Morris when he was knifing in and aggressively trying to steal the ball. Then Monte, it seemed, kind of got a controlled mad and played his best game for you. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, he definitely played his best game for us. Was aggressive, really good at. But I really like the combination with him and Mike Conley together in particular. All that experience and intelligence out there with the ball. But yeah, he's feisty, he's super competitive. That's what we love about Monte, and I think he rose to the challenge. I mean, Schroeder is an outstanding on-ball defender. Monte doesn't turn it over. It was a good battle of guys going at each other strength for strength.
You, I believe it was after that game, and it's not like you were all loud about it and everything, but you mentioned the offense is off. Is out of the break. I mean, do or maybe into it too, but nevertheless, you said it. Do you, Chris, see it as a fast fix with this, or something through which you guys may have to meticulously navigate?
I think it can be a relatively fast fix. We were playing really good basketball offensively going into the break. We had top 5 offense in the month of February before the break. In the games leading up to that, I think actually maybe in the 10 games into the All-Star break, we had top 5 offense, top 6, something like that. And we were making easy plays, cleaned up our game, making it nice and simple. We just reverted to some old habits, over dribbling, playing in a crowd, missing the wide open kickouts, things that have been paying dividends for us. As a result, that's just a rhythm thing. We'll look at it today on film. We'll compare and contrast the pre-break versus the post-break offense. And, at this point in the season, there's not really a defensive scheme we haven't seen before. So you just got to kind of go back to the mental Rolodex and figure out, all right, this is where our outlets are going to be, and these are the plays we need to make.
Chris Finch, courtesy of Prize Picks and Second Harvest Heartland and twoharvest.org. With Chris, with Anthony Edwards. Is Anthony the team's absolute offensive alpha? Now I bring it up. It's like I'm talking about the old late game, clear out, watch him do his thing stuff. Is he that guy for you?
He's definitely growing into that guy. I think we're in a unique and advantageous position to be able to have guys like Mike out there and Kyle, who can also help through those decision-making processes. But, Ant can get to his spot and, for the most part, get off a decent look most times in isolation. What we're actually, trying to kind of keep developing, if you will, is the sense of always making the right play. That doesn't mean just getting your shot off. And he was doing a really good job of that. And he's, over the last, I would say, month of just making the right play. I think he's gone through different peaks and valleys of being aggressive, being not aggressive enough, and then he found the right balance. And we just got to continue to maintain that balance right now.
So if he's taking steps toward that, and clearly is gifted in a way where when it all adds up, it seems like he would be that identifiable alpha. From a coaching standpoint, is managing feelings or coaching others if they don't see it that way? In other words, it's like, well, what about me? I mean, how come we don't isolate me at the end of a tightly contested game? Are those things with which you or coaches have to deal?
For sure. I mean, we have to manage all these egos, players, emotions, feelings, whatever it might be. But it's pretty clear sometimes, that this is not a democracy. Not everything's created equal for everybody. And we're not always going to get it right. I might choose to put the ball in Mike's hands and it might not work out. I might put the ball in Ant's hands, it might not work out. I might put the ball in Cat's hands, it might not work out. And then everybody always thinks that maybe they had a chance or could have done something a little bit better. But generally, those are just fleeting things. We move on. We realize it's for the greater good, and that's what a team is all about.
And then obviously with Steve Kerr and Paxson, I mean, that's how like Paxson and Kerr became Paxson and Kerr when they played for the Bulls, because Michael was the alpha. There he goes to win a game. He gets tripled. They kick it out to the open guy like you're talking about. That's the right play. And that's how legends are made,
Absolutely. Another great example of that is LeBron. Like early in his career, LeBron was like criticized unfairly. So he made the right play. And then everyone said, "Oh, he doesn't want to take the big shots. He doesn't want to take the big shots." Through the course of his career, he's taken many and made a ton of big shots and big plays at the end of games. But he's wired to make the right play. He's super smart. He can find any pass on the floor, and that's what makes him so dangerous. It's not just his ability to get to his places and make shots with incredible size and athleticism. But I'd say he's also going to make the right play. I mean, he beats us in the play-in game last year by making a kick out to Dennis Schroeder in the corner,
right,
when he could have easily forced it up over a crowd. But Dennis Schroeder is an average three-point shooter, probably better from the corner. But the right play was to throw it to that guy, regardless of what his statistics said. And they made it, and they moved on, and we had to go play another game.
San Antonio tomorrow night, of course, here with the staycation part of the Timberwolves schedule. And how about Wemby? I mean, 24 blocks his last 4 games with 10 in one of them. I mean, it's like when you got San Antonio on the schedule, I know, Wemby's the A topic, but seriously, 24 blocks over the last 4 games? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's insane. It's incredible. It's like it's now like the game's slowing down for him defensively, where, he's not, his head's not spinning, he's not reacting or late to things. He's now probably anticipating a lot more, picking his spots a lot better, realizing what he, has a chance to kind of impact, and just being there early. So yeah, I'm sure, it's all of that, but he's an incredible basketball player. He's going to be the future of the league, and he's a problem both offensively and defensively. 2 more with Jaden McDaniels. If McDaniels scored 12 a game the rest of the season, and during the 12, that's what he gets, no more, no less, with 3 threes made, would you take that right now? For sure. I mean, absolutely. I think with him, his role's been the same for us. His usage has fluctuated over the last couple of years. due to last year his usage was up, his shots were up, his cat was out of the lineup. Now, he's. I've always said he's kind of a barometer for our offense. If we're moving the ball well, the ball will find him in opportunities where he can do what he does best. We definitely need him to make threes. To make those threes you're talking about, he's going to have to take 6 or 7 of them. And those are going to have to be good kickouts by other guys for the most part. So that's one of the things that we're really looking to kind of maximize on right now coming down the stretch. So if we're able to get those numbers at that percentages with him, we're going to be a tough team to beat.
Arvydas' kid later in the week, Sabonis, Friday. Yeah. Have you seen his lines of late? I mean, he's running roughshod in the league right now. It's a triple-double every game, but it's like even when they're beef eaters who are super physical, big people down by the basket, he's getting triple-doubles against them too. Yeah.
I mean, he's a phenomenal player. He touches the ball every single time down. They run their offense through him effectively. He's one of the most physical offensive players. I put him up there with Julius Randle, Zion, him. Like, they're hit-first offensive players. And Rudy does a good job of battling him. He puts up numbers against Rudy, but I'll give Rudy a ton of respect and credit because he takes the pounding from him all night long, doesn't back down. And it's always a phenomenal one-on-one match with those two.
Hey, my man, best of luck the rest of the week, and thank you very much for the time. Have a good day, all right?
Okay, thanks, PA. Take care.
Yep, see you, bud. Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, weekly 9 to noon, courtesy of Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. And Second Harvest Heartland, a philanthropic charge where Chris is on the board of directors. So if you like Chris, if you like the Wolves, and if you like to help, check out twoharvest.org for support, which is needed year-round.
KFAN, The Fan.
Welcome back, 9 News du Nord, and it's brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. Poker, blackjack, table games all year round. Bingo! Bingo on Tuesdays. And then live racing. Within the next couple of months, the 2024 season live racing at Canterbury will get underway. The one spot where you can get all of that information, let's call it a website, CanterburyPark.com. They're the best. Check it out today. Let's start with the Minnesota Wild. You had Wild head coach John Hines on during the first hour. Big weekend for the Wild. They got them both in Edmonton and Seattle. 6 points out of a possible 8 if you're framing up last week with a bit of a gauntlet in that 4-game stretch with Vancouver into Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Seattle. Oh my. They got 3 victories. Love that. You were talking with him. I have some audio that I'm feverishly scrambling to find here. Oh, here it is. Perfect. You were chatting with him about, hey, this top line. They're on a heater of heaters right now with Kaprizov and Boldy and Jules Eriksson-Ek. How does that potentially impact the rest of the team? What is the impact of that on everybody when the first line is at their very best?
Yeah, Paul, it really goes in 2 ways. One, the way that those guys are playing, to your point, they're 3 highly talented players, but they're playing the game. They're willing skaters. They're tenacious on the puck. They're making good puck decisions. When they have opportunities to make plays, they're making them. But when there's no opportunities to make plays, they're managing the puck. They're putting pucks behind the D. They're putting pucks into places where they can recover the puck. And the way that they're playing without the puck, that's what you need from your top players. When your top players play with that conviction and that commitment, that's what really drives the team. Sometimes you can have top players that produce points, but they don't drive a team identity. And these guys are driving a team identity, and that's what you need to truly win regularly in the league, night in and night out.
Well, talk about producing points. You can't escape a Wild game these days without how many assists did Kaprizov have? Boldy scores all the time. All of that. Jules Eriksson-Ek, a big part of that conversation, too, with the massive career season that he's had thus far. Now, also in that interview, PA, let's check on Mr. Eriksson-Ek. And Hines said, he actually said thank God twice in the answer that he believes that Eriksson-Ek's going to be okay. It was an undeserved or unnecessary shove by a Mr. Borgen that sent Eriksson Ek into the boards. Whether or not he plays tomorrow against Carolina, head coach wouldn't commit to that. But I'm actually going to replay a portion of that conversation during the final segment of today's 9 to noon. Puck drop tomorrow. It's at the X. I believe it should be a 6:45 pregame puck drop shortly after 7 p.m. But now that they've gotten through that, coming back home, a lot of games on the schedule, not only against the Preds and the Blues, who the Wild are currently chasing 4 points out of a playoff spot as it stands today, game in hand they have over Nashville at this moment, but also the Ducks and the Arizona Coyotes, and some winnable opportunities for this team as they grind back into a playoff spot.
With the top line now, reading between the lines with Eriksson Ek is I wouldn't bet that he plays tomorrow night against Carolina, but somewhere in the near future on the horizon. But with that said, with Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, and Boldy with that top line, and Boldy scoring 22 of his goals in the 39 games since that Hines has coached. Nordo mentioned Kaprizov with these assists. I think it's tops in the NHL for consecutive games or something like that. And Eriksson Ek has been one of the best two-way players in the NHL the entire season period. It's when that line is going as well as it is now. And John put it fairly, honestly, and factually when he's like, paraphrasing, people play incredibly well at times, but they don't get rewarded. Well, that's not the case with this top line. They're playing incredibly well, and they're seeing the points, the goals and the assists and so on. Plus minuses for those guys have been really, really good for quite some time now. On the other side of it, it feeds into the other lines and the other players, and it's antithetical to, like, when a coach can get after some of his very best players, well, then the ancillary pieces naturally are going to kind of be like, wow, man, if he gets after A like that, then what's he going to say to me when, if I'm not doing it right? So it inherently motivates itself by the success that top line is having. And if there needs tinkering, you are, in essence, you're manufacturing change with your very best, which resonates with everybody on the team. Beautiful situation right now.
And to the Minnesota Timberwolves, overall, they're in a pretty amazing situation right now at the moment, too, because they are tops in the West. They're currently tied, equal 40-17 records, the T-Wolves and the OKC Thunder. But out of the break, 7-game homestand. You were there on location for probably the worst third quarter the Wolves have played all season. And, in your conversations weekly with Chris Finch, and just preceded this segment, getting down to the bottom of identity, right? What is this team's identity? It's Cat and Edwards and Rudy, loving all of that. Yep. Is it offense or is it defense? I think another minor aspect of that has been third quarters and how they've been able to come out of breaks with some dominating basketball at times. It was hideous in the third quarter Friday against the Bucks, and maybe sluggish at times, more so than the head coach would have liked, even in the game the following night against the Brooklyn Nets, one that ultimately Anthony Edwards just kind of says, I'm bored with this, let's just go win by 15 and get out of here. Your thoughts maybe on the offense, your thoughts from attending that Bucks game. What do you like about the Howl as they, next up for them in this 7-game homestand, a chance to make some hay? They got the Spurs in town and then the Grizzlies following that. Maybe a couple of wins in a row, hopefully, for the Wolves.
Yeah, I think something on a large scale clicked with the Milwaukee Bucks into the second half of the Friday game. Because the Wolves did not play well in the first half, and the Bucks played worse. And it looked a lot like the Bucks with Griffin or without, with Doc or without. Yeah. Now, when you have Giannis and Damian Lillard and players like now Jay Crowder, Bobby Portis Jr., people are like, who cares? But they're glue-type veterans who know how to fulfill their roles to the best of their abilities. And Chris Middleton for them didn't play again. I think his return's on the horizon. But that's like the starting glue guy who does everything, where Giannis does this, and this better than anybody in the world. Lillard does this, and this as well as anybody in the world. But then there's kind of a fall off. I mean, Brooke Lopez, you talk about old guys' knees getting tired. Holy cow. He hit his first 4 3-pointers. It looked like he was going to have 10. Old people get tired. He didn't hit one the rest of the game. I think he went like 0 for 6 the rest of the way. 17 years in the league, though. It's phenomenal to watch the old guys like that. But then they killed Philly yesterday. Now, Philly's without Joel Embiid and going through transition. But Milwaukee turned a corner in the second half of that game Friday night from a cohesion standpoint. And they're going to be a handful for the Eastern Conference the rest of the way. When it comes to the T-Wolves offense and maturity or lack thereof, I just think so much of it comes down to sharing. Chris will say it's making the right play at the right time. I love Anthony Edwards, and Karl Anthony Towns gets like this. They're really the only two. But, we can hog the ball a little bit. I mean, there can be not some James Harden by half court, ball pounding 20 seconds, clear everybody out, try to get to the line. We don't know what the plays are, but we see the picks, and then, I guess you can stop it and look at the all 10 and freeze it and see like who was open off what pick and what cut. But I just get the feeling the ball doesn't go where it's supposed to go enough at certain times of the game, because you have some players who it's not like they're selfish and they want all of the spotlight or the headlines. They just want to score. I mean, they just feel like, I got him. I can get around him or whatever. And for Anthony, and it happened Friday night, man, that just leads to some of the dumbest turnovers where he tries to spin and then he tries to throw it to somebody who's not there.
Yeah.
And McDaniels he's the conundrum with this bit. Now, you don't have to be loquacious up and down the bench, Tom Brady-like guy caught in NFL films where people will be like, yeah, that's a leader. Listen to him talk. That's a leader. You don't have to be that guy to be a leader. But I just can't figure out what he does offensively. It's one of two things. They're either hogging the ball and shutting him out, or he's trying too hard when he gets it because he knows I might not get it for another quarter. But that's why I laid that question out to Chris the way I did. Hey, if you were given right now for Jaden McDaniels 12 points a game, every game the rest of the year, it's not going to change. With 3 made threes each game, would you take it? I mean, he's like, yeah, right now.
Yeah, in a second.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So that seems to be like what the next step would be for him.
It's like he's 6 of 8 on Monday night.
Yep.
He's 1 of 10 on Wednesday night. And it's that roller coaster with him. Defensively, certainly still impacting, but yeah, he's definitely the head scratcher of the group.
They're going to need him to hit a majority of his corner threes because he's always open, and they're going to need Conley to beat guys off the dribble. Now, he can do it, and he does it, but I mean, this is a stage of the season where looks like some minutes are being monitored, patches. He didn't even finish in the Bucks game, and it was a tightly contested game. Your point guard is going to have to beat guys off the dribble to cause the defense to collapse on him, or he'll hit that teardrop in the key, and that should open things on the perimeter. That's a sneaky key, too.
Well, let me hit you with this final thought on this. Conley's usage has gradually declined over the course of this season. Now, we want to keep people healthy and all of that into the postseason, understand all of that. Does that play into this conversation a little bit in terms of how the offense, you hit on it last week? Like, okay, when things are good and they're not hogging the ball, Anthony Edwards, 4 or 5 assists can be 6 and 7 assists over the course of a game. Is the usage of Conley declining play into what we're talking about here with the offense?
That's a wonderful question because he's the quarterback. He's the floor general. I'm a fan of playing point ant, even with Conley on the floor.
Yeah.
Because it creates mismatches, and Anthony's off-the-dribble skills have greatly improved. I still think he needs work with his left hand, but that's just me. It's an excellent question because the right answer is yes. That's your floor general, that's your quarterback. It starts and stops with him, and he'll orchestrate it. But if you're not beating people off the dribble, and, he's got to beat people off the dribble, and he can, and he does. But I'm just saying the farther along we get is they're going to start identifying players on teams they don't have to worry about, and they ain't going to get doubled.
Right.
He's going to be one of them. I mean, with all due respect to a wonderful, wonderful career, but he's nearing the end of his career.
Yeah.
So it's like, who do you double here? Well, you got to double that guy. Got to double that guy. Rudy never gets doubled by intent, but it ends up being that after he gets a rebound. So it's a fascinating team, one that should beat San Antonio. And then they got Memphis, so they should go boom, boom, make it 3 in a row. Then you get a Red Hot Kings team here on Friday. De'Aaron Fox fell off the map as Sabonis got hot. Harrison Barnes picked up for him. Now Fox is on fire. Sabonis has come back just a tick, but it's still triple-double-ish. And Barnes, I mean, the Iowa kid, Keegan Murray.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's starting to block shots and hit threes. So
I think they match up. Like, where the Clippers, it's like, that's a good matchup for the Wolves.
Yeah.
I think the Kings, they're a tough matchup for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting Sabonis to guard is the big key.
Okay.
Because he gets in foul trouble, and he's not a good defensive player, and everybody knows it, but they don't pay him for his defense. And that's so that's the long play here when you have Rudy and Cat or Nas and Cat, you have two bigs who can score. And now you're going against a guy you absolutely want to put in foul trouble if you can and get DeMontis off the court because he's MVP-esque right now with the way he's playing. But that's part of what goes into, well, why do you have all these bigs and how do you make it work? For like moments like that, when you play a guy like that, that's how I see it.
That makes sense. It's News to Nord brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, PA.
9 to noon continues around the corner. Lavelli Neal III amplifies the presentation on KFAN.